You're listening to the episodes of Consciousness with Cyrus. All right, folks. Shall we start this podcast? I welcome you all. My name is Cyrus, and I'm a human design analyst, amongst many other things. And you're listening to my podcast, The Episodes of Consciousness. This is a serious podcast, and I guess this is the first episode, And I gotta be honest with you, I don't want to edit this afterwards. I just want to have this flow. And I want you to feel that flow, the flow of information, this episode of consciousness that you're listening to, and I'm listening to. Oh, I'm just hearing how it sounded, and I'm listening to it as well, so to say, because, I'm being present in that moment, and I know what I'm going to be talking about, but how I'm going to be talking about it and what words I'm going to be using. I can't plan this. So I'm listening as you are listening, which is interesting. Observing too the story I'm sharing. And you know what? I want to start from something that I consider to be interesting in human design, and something that touched me personally. I think this is very important to know this, the origin, how it all happened, the origin of human design. And the story is very interesting. So it's about this guy whose name is Ra Uru Hu. And so this guy, he met voice, and he had this journey with that voice for 8 days. And this voice told him the mechanics of our forms. So the voice communicated to him about the mechanics. He was explaining that we are 9-centered beings, that we're not 7 chakras beings anymore. And the whole thing was explained to him. So after this, for quite some time, for a few years, he was not public, and he was very isolated person. At the time, he was living on an island of Ibiza in Spain, and he was considered to be gone. How do you say this in English? Because I'm sorry, guys, English is not my first language, so some things I just forget. Basically, he was considered to be dead, because for 8 years nobody heard anything about him. Before living on island of Ibiza, he was living in Canada. I don't really remember where exactly, in which city. He was a very successful businessman, and he had interesting career in show business. He was the head of the magazine, I think, in Canada. Guys, I don't remember all the details, but he was doing pretty well. He had wife, kids, and he had money, and also he had a band from the very young age. He learned to play guitar, so he was very into music too. And one day, he goes to the gas station to buy some cigarettes. And he buys cigarettes, but he exits through the back door of this shop, so nobody sees him exiting. And from there, he gets to the airport. He buys tickets. Uh, yeah, he had exactly the amount of money to buy a ticket to Ibiza. So he asked like where he can fly cheap or something, and he was told that. Or no, sorry guys. No, the story with Ibiza, who told him. I think it was some boy, like said that he should fly to Ibiza or something. Ra later said that it was forces talking to him through that boy, but whatever. There was also an interesting part of that story when he got to island of Ibiza and he had exact amount of money to buy another ticket that got him to the final destination where he was going, but he was gone. Nobody ever heard anything about him for 8 years. So for 8 years he was in that island, and because nobody there's some law when you don't hear anything about a person from anybody for a couple of years. I don't remember exactly what number is. This person is considered to be dead. So for 8 years he was living on that island, and he was living as a homeless. He lived on a tree for 3 years. He said for 3 years he didn't touch money, and he was just like really living on that tree. He was from a wealthy family. In his house, his father had this huge library, and he would read the books that were there. All kinds of books. Ancient Egypt, ancient Greece philosophies, and mysteries, stories. So he was very educated man. And when he was on that island of Ibiza, the way he would make living is he would teach the kids. There was some kind of a experimentary school where he would apply different teaching techniques that mnemotechniques, like memory techniques that he would give to children, and he would explain them quantum theory in simple words, like so that kids could understand this. He would talk about planets, stars. He was a very well educated man. He knew a lot about physics, and he was a very exciting teacher. And later on, when after he met the voice, when he was teaching human design, it's really extraordinary to listen to this man's voice and listen to him telling the story, sharing that story, sharing his experience. And his teachings are so powerful. The message that he transmitted to the collective consciousness is absolutely extraordinary. Yeah, the origin, the beginning of the story is esoteric. It sounds crazy. This guy, he was like living on this island for 8 years. He was considered to be dead. And one day he has this contact with a voice that tells him the mechanics of our forms and how we're all designed, how mammals are designed, how cells are designed, and many other things. In 8 days, he barely survives. And then for 25 years, he teaches that knowledge, and the amount of information is absolutely extraordinary. It's crazy how much information is there, how many topics he touched, how deep he went, how many layers there is in mechanics, decoding all 64 codons, 64 hexagrams, explaining the nature of channels, the structure of each gate, the mechanics, all the keys that he gave us. Rave I Ching, the new I Ching. Rave I Ching. The amount of information, I think it's fuck, I can't even say that word. So, it all started with the voice, with the contact. And slowly he started giving out this information. He started to give first readings. And, oh, can you hear the dog barking? By the way, the dog, reminding about itself. It's interesting that during that experience, during this 8 days, there was a dog with him that was, for 8 days, he says, he was afraid that the dog was dead, but the dog was just unconsciously lying on the floor. And he said that the dog was channeling some information, channeling the contact with that force that he was contacting with. And the other interesting thing is that this was exactly at the moment when we have this death of supernova. And gosh, guys, I don't remember. It was Sirius, I think. Was it Sirius? Guys, I just completely lost my last thought, and I guess this happens when you're talking alone in the room and it's silent, and I'm telling you a story. I'm just gonna continue where I was going about the story. Dog was very important in the experience. He had very special relationship with that dog. This dog was at this time he was living in that abandoned house, which was on the place of an old well, and like in the basement of his house, Ra Uru Hu had his experience. And by the way, you can, if you're interested, you can find it on YouTube, and there is a movie where Ra Uru Hu tells this story himself, how he met voice, and he just completely tells you the full story. There's no necessity for me to repeat it, but I want to focus on some interesting details. So a few years after his contact, he's not talking a lot about human design. He actually admitted later that he was not planning to tell anybody. You know, he didn't want to. All he wanted is to be left alone. He was a manifester, and he wanted to be alone. Really, he didn't want to be in that public persona role. Be nice to people, meet many people, talk a lot publicly. But the voice told him the the voice told him was, "Are you ready to work?" So I guess there was no choice really, as there's actually no choice. And when you learn the mechanics, when you learn the centers, when you get your reading and you're being explained your mechanics, your design, your not self strategies, you just see how it works, how it perfectly fits. And this information is really powerful. It has so much density, it has so much power in it. It's very empowering because we have the tool that gives us this ability to align to our form, to align to our vehicle. This is absolutely extraordinary possibility to be really connected to your vibration, knowing where in your design you're open, you have openness, meaning these are the places through which you receive conditioning. This is not you. But you see, conditioning is so strong, and usually we experience that conditioning amplified because something in our design is, one part is nature. And I already started, pardon me, something falling down. So one part is nature and the other part is nurture, which is the openness. And openness is let's say we have more open spots in our design than the spots that are defined. So by design, we're designed to be in that conditioning, stay programmed, have the evolutionary mechanism encoded in our DNA, programmed to mate and reproduce more material, more genetic material. I feel like here we really get to this point in human design, which I consider to be very, very intriguing and interesting. You see, we live in a world which is homogenized. There's so many people, and this is how the program works. It needed more material. It needed more mutation. And as we're coming closer to 2027, the mutation happens more frequently, more aggressively. We have more mutation coming. We have actually the most intriguing part in human design. After you understand, first you got to understand that we have 9 centers. We are in that 9-centered form. We are not 7 chakras beings anymore. We don't have 7 centers. We have 9 centers. And it's very simple to understand why. If you look in the alchemy, the correspondence of each planet to the specific center, each chakra, okay, and you get to Saturn, and 7 chakras beings, their form was attuned to this planet, to the cycle of Uranus, to the cycle of Saturn, which is about 30 years. So their form was programmed to live about 30 years. And this is how they plan their life, basically, This is why they would marry at the age of 12. Who marries now at the age of 12? This is fucking crazy. We consider that to be child molesting, okay? So let's just realize that. And after you got married at 12, you were supposed to fuck, to have more kids, and at the same time, man, they were training because there was a war going on all the time. So they had to go to battles and fight, and they would die very often. And many people died back then. Of course, now we have more people dying because we just have more people on the planet. But, you know, back then it was different. So, about at 25, you were considered to be on a pension, which is crazy to think about, really. Like, not many people lived after 30. Only, not that many people had the conditions to live that long. Not many people had, enough money and just infrastructure that we have today was not possible back there. Many kings in the Middle Ages would, envy just a regular middle class person, or even not middle class, but just like even normal person, because what we have today was not possible before because of the technology. And you see, Uranus brings that technology, this planet Uranus that was discovered by Herschel in 1781. So this is exactly the time when the mutation happened, and the new nine-centered form, we began to be born. Okay, and this is very interesting to just think about it. Our form, our nine-centered form, is attuned to the planet Uranus, and it takes 84 years for Uranus to get around our sun. So our biological form is attuned to the frequency of Uranus and to the cycle of Uranus. So our form is designed to live 84 years. 84 years. So we get very different number because now we have this technology. We have this technology that gives many people abilities to live longer. Yes, the medicine is homogenized. Yes, it is very fucked up in many places, and we have many bad doctors. But at the same time, it's still better than it was before. Way better. Because we can live longer. Many people can live longer. It is possible today. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. 3 more energies, 3 more centers. I guess this is the easiest way for somebody who's far from thinking about planets and far from talking about planetary weather. Many people are interested in astrology, and human design is not astrology. There has to be very clear distinction and understanding that human design is not astrology. No, don't talk about human design and mention astrology as if it's the same thing. Human design, why human design is so beautiful, why human design is so amazing and so deep, the level of transcendence that human design provides, the knowledge of mechanics, what experiment can do to your life, how it can change the way you look at things, the way you look at reality. Because you see, we are all designed uniquely, we're all differentiated, and we all have 64 codons, and we all have 36 channels. So you build your chart your human design chart using the information about your date of birth and the place and the time. And this is, to some people, it may sound esoteric. How can you know something about the person just knowing their date of birth? What is it for? Why do you need this information? And how the calculation is happening? What's going on here? And the answer is very simple. At the moment of your birth, this is the time when the imprint is being put on you. You're being imprinted by planets. You're being imprinted by the field of neutrino. And here we get to this part where we just need to talk about it very openly. And, why not that many people talk about neutrinos? But do you really understand that while you're listening to me right now, while I'm talking to you right now, through me, there are millions and trillions of neutrinos, the elements of dark matter, little particles that have mass. They fly through me each second. And they go further. They fly through everybody. They fly through everything they meet on their way. They fly through planets. They fly through Earth. They are being generated by stars. They are being produced by stars. This is why the position of your sun is so important, because sun is the closest star to us. We are in that solar system. We are on that planet Earth. And planet Earth is also considered in the human design calculation. So let me be clear on how the imprint is being created, how it happens. As I mentioned earlier, that these little particles, neutrinos, particles of dark matter, they have mass. They are very tiny, and because of the technology today, we were able to catch them. And as far as I know, the technology is very complex, because you have to do these laboratories very deep in the ground, and somewhere in Antarctica or some, I'm not, I don't know the details of how the scientists catch them. And Ra, he started to talk about neutrinos, because that's how the voice explained to him how we are being conditioned by this cosmic weather, and how our form is designed to filter that field of particles. So we have 64 codons. There are antennas in our DNA, and when certain codon is activated, that makes you being attuned to that specific frequency that nobody else is attuned to, because you see, the way you filter that stream of neutrino is different from the way the other person is filtering it, because this other person has different design. His 64 codons are activated differently. And this is very important to understand, that we're all very different. And in each design, one side is conscious and the other side is unconscious. So the calculation is the quantum of this conscious and unconscious programming of the information at the moment of your birth, which is the conscious imprint, the imprint for your personality. But there is also the calculation of 88 degrees of the sun going back before the moment of the birth, which is approximately about 3 months. And this is the time when your design side is being imprinted, your unconscious side. So we're the combination of these two things. And each design is unique. And we're all designed uniquely to filter that stream of neutrino. And you see, it's very, if you're very skeptical and if you're not ready for this information, okay, I'm not trying to argue or prove anything to you. I'm just telling this story, and I'm just sharing with you this information, which is, I think it's very exciting and it's very logical. It does not contradict with modern quantum physics theory. Okay? Let's be very clear on that. So these particles, they're being produced by stars, and once they fly through our solar system, they get to planets in our solar system, planets that we know of. We know their names. We are aware of them, and they are aware of us. You were answering how they are aware of us and how we are, like, you may understand how we are aware of them, but you may not be understanding the point, how they are aware about us. And the answer to this, you partially know the answer already. I'm just going to explain you, connect the dots for you. The stream of neutrino, once it flies through the planet, let's say it's Mars. Before Mars, the neutrino has one level of frequency that it's vibrating on. Then it touches the planet, and because it flies almost at the speed of light, it flies through everything. But nevertheless, the friction is there. There is a friction that is being created between neutrino particle and the planet, Mars. So after this particle is flying through Mars, it is vibrating on the different frequency. It's different. Now it's imprinted by the quality of that planet. And that neutrino is flying further, and we're designed to filter that stream of neutrino because we have two crystals in our design. The crystal of personality and the crystal of design. Two crystals of consciousness. So after that neutrino is flying through our crystals, we are experiencing certain thoughts. We are experiencing reality. We are being aware or unaware, whatever we're going through, we experience this cosmic weather. It affects our DNA. And each day, it's changing. It's constantly moving. We're moving in space all the time. So that soup of neutrino is being filtered through our crystals of consciousness. And then it flies through Earth. It's being filtered through Earth. Then through the crystals of consciousness of the people living on the other side of the Earth. And then it flies out. And let's say it flies now not through Mars, but it flies through Jupiter. It flies back to stars, and it's all spinning. It's all communicating with each other. And because of the technology we have today, we're able to understand this. Isn't that fucking crazy? Isn't your mind blown away right now to think about these things? I mean, if this is not interesting enough, I'm like, okay, come on. This is fucking interesting. It's so, like, it's amazing to think about these things. And it's even more amazing once you start experimenting with your design, with your unique way of decision making, how you're designed to make decisions. What centers you have activated, what life force you have activated in your DNA, the frequency, your nature that you carry all the time with you. And you see the openness is your nature, so to say, but it's not fixed nature. It's nature that is always open to conditioning, to different type of conditioning. When you just understand what you have defined in you, and you can attune to that, but not mentally. You see, mind is never the authority. not mentally, through different mechanism, following the strategy of your type and your inner authority, listening to your inner authority. And you get to this point where things just start to shift. Old habits, old patterns. You understand something that it was not possible for you to understand before. So much transformation, so much alignment. Alignment to who I am for me, because I'm a generator. And this is the question for every generator. Who I am for me. Are you being a slave working in the office or wherever you're working, not having that freedom? And being a generator, whoa, so much frustration. You see, this Maya is built by generators. These are the workers. These are the builders. And the blocks that the generators are using, they can be, in the form of thoughts. Or they can be very physical, like real bricks that build buildings. Or bricks that build relationships. Mechanics is very beautiful. When you start to see the nature of each center, when you start working with your alignment to your unique frequency, and once you understand the places that you have open, places through which your mind creates not-self strategies, following which you end up being either frustrated if you're a generator, you end up being angry if you're a manifester, you end up being bitter if you're a projector, and you end up being disappointed if you're a reflector. The mechanism is very simple, and once you understand how the conditioning is happening, how you are being forced to make decisions from these open centers, from these open places. How you have no choice in that. You see, this is the most beautiful thing to understand, to stop hating yourself. Many people are hating themselves. They're hating their guts. What a life, what a horrible life, to hate yourself, to hate your form, to hate your being, not accepting, thinking that you need something more, that you need to be better, that you need to prove your value. This is the big thing of the open egos, proving their value and worth to themselves and to others, brothers, sisters, father, mother, society, everybody, but not themselves. Not real things that they care about, really care about, not forced to do. Because you see, if you're trying to prove to your father that you can't carry the family business, but you hate that job, hate that family business that your father built for whatever amount of years, you just hate it. But because of the mechanics of the open ego center and the defined ego center, if the father has defined ego center and the child has open ego center, there is this natural tendency of every open ego to prove their value to the defined egos, to compete, to prove they can, but you're wasting all your life trying to fulfill the dream of your father or of your mother. But what about you? Who are you? What have you done for you? And it's not about being an asshole. It's not about not caring for others. But you see, how can you care for anybody if you can't care for you first? How can you trust anybody if you can't trust yourself first? Is it possible? Yeah, many people are living like this every day, giving their authority to somebody else. I'm living for you. I'm working for you. I'm sacrificing my life for you. For you, my son. For you, my husband. For you, whomever. For you, my boss. For you, my friend. For you, stranger. Just losing yourself, losing your identity. At one place, you feel yourself this way, you go to another place. Now you feel that you don't want to do this thing anymore that you were doing at this other place. So now you want to do something different that these people are doing. And then these people are going somewhere and you go back to that, to another people. Oh my God, I'm just, I guess I made it just too complicated. I'm sorry, guys. But you get the point. I hope. I hope you get the point. So it is very beautiful to connect to your vibration, to connect to your mechanics, to experiment with your design, to experiment with your ability to just be open for something new, for the new information to enter. The paradigm shift. Old dogmas are dying. There's nothing bad about old truths, but they're outdated. They don't matter anymore. They don't match with the real world. So I guess I shared little parts. Oh, touch the microphone. I guess I shared some beautiful parts with you about the story of Ra Uru Hu, how human design came into the world. And there's just so much information that I gotta be frank with you guys, I didn't know where to start. You know, I feel this is the time in my life when it's the right time to be public about my experiment, about my experience, about my work. Because I was experimenting, you know, I was not sure whether I can trust this information, whether it's working or not. And right away, I saw the patterns when I was explaining especially the mechanics of the open solar plexus center and the defined solar plexus center. So the dynamics in the relationship between somebody who is emotionally defined and somebody who is emotionally open. That was something that I understood right away. It was something that sank in so fast. That was something that helped me to understand my situation better about the nature of emotions, about the nature of our form, how we're different, how we are all operating differently. We're designed differently. There are some things that are similar, but the depth is extraordinary. There are 64 gates, okay? And each gate has 6 lines. Each line has 6 colors. Each color has 6 tones. And each tone has 5 bases. Just multiply that. And this is how many possible ways of expression of just one gate. Of just one gate. And remember that there is another gate. By the way, the number that you get is like 1,000 or something. 1,080. I don't remember exactly, pardon me. The whole thing is very strange. It's very interesting, and sometimes there are just not enough words to describe the accuracy of of mechanics. How we are all helpless in life. We're designed to be helpless. But mind, the afraid mind, is fighting to control. But trying to control life that's crazy. That is crazy. Human design helps you to understand better your nature, and you just have the mechanism after your initiation reading with which you can start to experiment and just allow yourself to have this new information in your life. Just thinking about stars producing neutrinos that are flying through planets that we are filtering. So this is why this is the illusion of separateness. We are all interconnected with each other. This is the illusion of separateness. Because we are being constantly in that soup of neutrino. We just can't see it. But it is there. We can detect it. Are you ready for this kind of information? Are you ready for this kind of transformation? Are you ready to understand that we're not 7 chakras beings anymore? That we have 9 centers, and moreover, in 2027, the global cycle of planning that we've been living now is coming to an end, and we enter into the new cycle. And with that new cycle, the new form arrives. The voice named them raves. We are the transitory form. We're Homo Sapiens in Transitus. We're not 7 chakras beings anymore, but we're not raves. And the main difference about raves, and which is so interesting, and the mutation that's going to be, so to say, finalized in them, that happened in our form already, it's autism. Ra called it the right mutation, not at the right time. So these new people, they will have the solar plexus center as the center of awareness. It's going to be fixed. Their emotional wave, it's going to be fixed. They're not going to be emotional like we are. Because you see, we have the potential. We have the potential for emotional awareness, potential for emotional clarity, for emotional beings. It's very important to wade their wave. So these new beings that the voice told Ra about and called them raves, they will not have this self-reflective consciousness that we have. What is self-reflective consciousness? We're able to think about us, about our thinking, and be aware that we're thinking in the moment about our thinking. And we understand ourselves. We can feel ourselves separate in that huge mechanism, in that cosmos. We can feel that quantity of energy, how many stars, how much life. But we are able to realize ourselves separately, have this self-reflective consciousness. And raves, they will be designed differently. They will be designed to have one consciousness for a group. And this small group is named Penta. You see, when we get together, when there's 3 people in the aura, this Penta aura starts to morph. So raves, they will have this one consciousness for Penta. So once they are meeting, first 3 raves, when they're going to meet together, they're going to have this awareness for one Penta, this group awareness. But they're not going to be able to have this self-reflective consciousness as we have. Once they meet together, they will feel something together that only they feel and only they know about, that we can't see this, we can't feel it. Ross said that it will be as if we are sitting, Rave and the human being can be sitting next to each other, but the way they process reality will be very different because they're designed to operate differently. And this mutation is coming, and it's interesting. These things are so exciting to think about, but most people are not even ready to understand that we are not seven chakras beings anymore. Keep doing this seven centered meditations, rising kundalini, but for some reason still, frustration doesn't go away, and anger stays. Bitterness is there too, and disappointment of reflectors, but you see reflectors are very rare. These are the human beings that have everything open in their design, meaning they have gates activated, but there's not a single gate which has the opposite gate, meaning that this makes it possible to create a channel. So for them, it's they are very different. There's only 1% of them. So human design is so exciting, really. There's so much to experiment with, but it only depends on how ready are you. Are you ready to accept that neutrino exists? These little particles of dark matter, that they are real, though you can't see them. But come on, just change your perspective, have a little shift, be ready to experiment. Just give yourself time, and give yourself this possibility to stay with this information. Just be aware of it. Experiment with it. Even after this podcast, if you have never heard about human design before, it's already enough information to process. And it's a lot of information to process at the initiation reading. It takes time. It actually takes 7 years to decondition, because it takes 7 years for our cells to regenerate. All the cells you have today, while you're listening to me right now, they are going to be dead in 7 years, and you're going to have new cells. But you see, now, while you're listening to me, this information is not only entering through the ears, but you're listening to, in your car or wherever you're listening to this podcast, in your headphones, on the speakers at your house. Okay, the vibration is there. You receive vibration. Your cells, all your body receives this information. And your cells are being transformed. Now they carry this new information. And you can think about it. You can give some time to this. Or you can just, continue your life. Continue your frustration, anger, or bitterness, or disappointment. You're still trying to prove something. What's not working? Something is not working. Maybe it's time to change. It is crazy to think that if you keep doing the same things and expect a different result, this is what Einstein thought to be the definition of madness. And I certainly agree with him. I agree with him on that. Why not trying to experiment if, I'm a generator. I'm designed to operate from response, and I'm a spontaneous generator. I'm not emotional generator. I don't need to wait for emotional clarity when I'm making a decision. My decision is spontaneous, and every response that I followed empowered me in such a unique way that the movie I'm watching today is unbelievable. My reality is so unique that I don't care what other people think. Think about the world, think about the politics, about the whatever. I have my own personal movie that I'm sharing with my close people, and some parts of it I'm sharing with you. But you see, everything I share, it's only parts. And once I share my truth, it's not mine anymore. I give it away. I give it away for interpretation. Because how can you be sure that what you understood after this podcast is what I meant, is what I wanted you to understand? We're designed to hear information differently, process information differently. The way our consciousness works is very unique. How we perceive ourselves inside our bodies, it is different. Whether you perceive this reality more through smell, or through vision, or through inner vision, or through electromagnetic frequencies, how far are you ready to go? How far are you ready to experiment? I think this is something that is very exciting, to be able to understand our program, our design, how our DNA is designed, how we're programmed to behave, how helpless we are. Because after the initiation reading, after you understand the nature of your not self, you start understanding how the choices you make, how irrelevant they are very often. How very often they have no meaning. How very often they just don't matter, because you're being conditioned to make the decision from the open center, from the place of nurturing in your design. Because once you start to experiment with your mechanics, you just start aligning more with your frequency, because what we're dealing with, the distortion, the homogenization machine is so powerful that we're not living our nature. Most people are not living their nature most part of their life. Conditioning takes like 80%. Takes all their life. All the life force they have is being wasted for the openness, for the mind strategies. The mind strategies that are serving the evolution, serving the program. After reading, it is very easy to understand how you're being tricked, how we are so different from each other. We have different auras. We feel differently. I feel this is the right time to finish this podcast for today. I feel like I shared enough information for you to process, and some things are very provocative. I'm sorry if I'm shocking you, but this is my nature. I'm designed to shock people. nothing to believe in, something you can experiment with. This is the beauty. You can see for yourself how the not-self strategies are controlling your life. How foolish you are to think that you are the one who makes the decision. How foolish the mind is. If you listen to the very end of this podcast, thank you very much. I appreciate that the information I was sharing today was interesting, and I hope it provoked some new thinking, some new feelings, some new excitement. It's nice to have the access to this type of awareness. It's nice to have the mechanism that you don't need anybody else to use. This is yours. This is your mechanics. You have no choice to be anybody else. You're born to be a generator if you're a generator, with a specific design, with all the other details, the profile. You're born a manifester or a projector. So much differentiation, but homogenization, it's more of homogenization present in the world. But it's good. I mean, homogenization helps us to get from one city to another in just a few hours, whereas before it would take you to get there like 5 days, or it was even impossible to travel so far. So it's really exciting to live at these times, to think about raves, to think about 9 centers. Each center corresponds to the biological function in the body. So they're not just, taken out of a wild imagination. This is very practical information. And in my experiment, in my experience, I truly discovered that this is something that can be very beneficial for any human being. We're human. We're designed to be human. We're designed this way. So amazing to experience this new way of breathing. Breathing when you're not trying to control anything. Breathing with awareness. Breathing with presence. Presence in that 9-centered form. In that 9-centered vehicle. And in that surrender to life, experience unique journey. Something that your mind can't calculate. Something that your mind can't predict. Unique experience that is imprinted in your DNA. Your unique geometry. What human design helps the most is to align to your geometry. To your allies, people you need to meet to fulfill your potential. The Maya is so complex. There are so many different particles and variables. So many things need to happen in order for something to happen. And it's so beautiful. And it's so chaotic and organized at the same time. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your attention. And if this is something that you enjoyed And if this is something that you would like to listen again, you would like to hear more, follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Facebook, wherever you want, wherever you feel like. I don't know. And I'm gonna be sharing more. I'm gonna be doing more podcasts, more episodes of consciousness, and I'm gonna be sharing more with you guys. I truly enjoy this. I enjoy my journey. I enjoy talking to you, and I really I'm open for communication. Please leave your comments, share your thoughts, ask me your questions. You can DM me on Instagram, or I don't know how you feel comfortable. Because I'm also a human design analyst, as I mentioned in the beginning of this story, of this episode. And this is my work. I give people readings. I give initiation readings. And recently I've been certified as a Living Your Design guide. So I'm going to be teaching this course very soon. So if you're interested in knowing more information about human design, if you're interested in learning about each center specifically, if you want to understand the non-self strategies of each center and the function of each center, also in that Living Your Design course, we talk about each type separately. But this is more educational type of course, where you get to hear about all the types and about all the centers. We don't go in the channels there. You see, there are many levels and layers of information in human design, and it's very important to follow the structure. So Living Your Design course, this is something very exciting, this information is exciting. Also, you can get an initiation reading from me, where you will be explained your mechanics, your personal mechanics, how you are designed uniquely to make decisions in life. And these things are very exciting. I'm so excited to share this, and I'm so excited to be sharing more, to provide my service. I'm certainly very satisfied. I'm really satisfied to do this work, to work on this mental complexity, the mental complexity of human design. It's amazing. But it's very important to start experimenting with making decisions, listening to your authority. It's very easy to get lost in the mentality, in the logic of human design, how well structured it is. Absolutely unbelievable just to look at it and to see how well it all fits together. All this beauty of the body graph, beauty of the rave mandala, beauty of the just awareness of thinking about neutrinos, thinking about how they fly through you and how they imprint people on the other side, and the people are sleeping, so they get programmed while they're sleeping, and some neutrinos are flying through us. So, I'm just jumping further, but it's interesting to think about it, how people on the other side of the earth, how they get all this scary dreams, you know, about the plane that gets crushed, because this is something that might be happening on the other side of the earth, and people are filtering this. So people that are sleeping, they're being programmed with this information. Interesting to think about this too. How many different ways to look at things, to look at life. Ooh, that was a nice evening. I certainly enjoyed it. Enjoy your movie, guys. Be brave. Stay present. And bye for now. Produced by Human Design Soul.